It is my joy to introduce our first host and speaker of the conference. Suzanne Bendick is the current co-executive director at Roots Family Collaborative in Bozeman, Montana. Catalyzed by her own birthing experience in 2010, she became a certified lactation counselor and a postpartum doula to support local families in the postpartum period in her community. After the birth of her second child in 2015, she became a Postpartum Support International Warm Line volunteer, where she fielded calls from new parents in the community looking for support and resources. In 2017, Suzanne joined forces with two other local mothers to found Roots Family Collaborative, a nonprofit organization that serves new and expecting families in Gallatin and Park counties. She continues to grow and hone her skills to offer evidence-based, trauma-informed support groups and to continue to train the cadre of volunteers at Roots Family Collaborative. Suzanne is a leader in building community around perinatal mental health in our state, and I am so pleased she agreed to share her expertise with us today. When I was chatting with Suzanne about doing this session, she said to me, if we can imagine our role as listeners across discipline, doing some part for collective healing in our communities, then that will be good. Suzanne?
Hello, everyone. So good to see you all here. Let me just take a minute to get myself oriented with all this technology in my face. I haven't really done a presentation with slides before, so you all are in for a treat. See if I can make it all work. Okay. Thank you, Stephanie and Amy and the team at HMHB for the honor to be here with all of you. It truly is an amazing experience. Just right off the bat, looking out and seeing some familiar faces. Thank you for giving me a little feedback. And many of you I don't know, and I'm really excited to kick off this conference with you. And it kind of feels like kicking off in this way, we really are setting the tone for being here together. And I'm really, really, really excited and honored about that opportunity. And also, it feels like a lot of pressure. So, we have a little bit of time together this morning. So our session goes until just before noon, and it's going to be broken into a couple of parts, and it's going to be fluid. And I want to say that because, and to echo what Steph said at the beginning, please take care of yourselves while you're here. A lot of what we're going to talk about during my time with you is listening. So I encourage everybody here to take time to really listen to what it is that you need. Like Steph said, you can always walk right outside. I actually feel really lucky because I can see outside from the podium. That's a huge resource for me, so thank you for setting it up in this way. Never feel like you're interrupting. Take time to get your tea or coffee refilled. Stand, move, sway. I can see a mama bouncing a baby. Bounce, bounce. Some of us that don't have babies might want to bounce too. So, again, take care of yourselves. And for the first part of our time together, I'll be leading us through a collective sort of witnessing, sharing, listening experience. And then we'll move into a deeper dive around the power of narrative in the perinatal journey and what that means for all of us here in the room. And again, Stephanie mentioned that we come here from different roles and different backgrounds and different disciplines. But for our time together, we have the opportunity to really be part of a bigger collective healing. So this presentation is unfolded from my own experience as a mother, as someone who works with mothers, and as a student of somatic experiencing. So before jumping in and inviting our incredible, you don't have to move yet, our incredible mothers up here to share a little bit of their lived experience, I just want to acknowledge that everyone in this room has a part to play in how stories are shared and how these two stories from Chelsea and Heather will be shared this morning. We all have a responsibility and an obligation to deliver quality care, right? And a lot of that begins with our own listening. We're always so focused on the storyteller themselves, because rightfully so, it's a very bold and courageous act to sit in front of other people and share stories. But again, I think it's really important for us to understand that everyone in this room has an integral role in listening, and ultimately how that listening impacts our collective power to turn the dial on perinatal mental health and healing. Some of you out there may be asking yourselves, like, I don't know Chelsea and Heather. How am I going to play a part in their stories? Well, it's true. Storytelling, story sharing, and I'll probably use those words interchangeably because I can't quite figure out what the word is. And in talking with Amy and Steph in leading up to this, I haven't settled on anything. But maybe as we move through our time together, collectively we'll settle on something. But storytelling is not really possible without listeners, right? Story sharing, telling lived experience is not static. It's dynamic, and it's built in the process. Storytelling and listening is kind of like dancing. Does anybody in here like to dance? Don't be ashamed. I do. So sometimes someone's in the lead, someone's following, right? There's an energy. We can feel it when we're dancing with somebody who like gets us, right? We're vibing, as my teenager might say. And sometimes in the beginning of learning something new or tapping into something, we're a little clumsy at first. But with practice, I really do believe we can lean into the ways to best support ourselves and our clients and our patients. So, I'm glad you're here. Are you ready to dance? We will dance later, promise. I was going to show you some really cute pictures of myself with my first baby, but now you'll imagine it in your mind. And I'm going to share a little bit about the picture because it's important. Every one of us here comes to the table with their own story, right? Our own lived experience. My lived experience doesn't include technology, apparently. So I am a mother of two. I have a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old. And my early journey in mothering really flipped me upside down. And the picture I had to show you was literally that. It was me and my baby, and my husband took it from an angle which made me look upside down in the picture, which I didn't really think about at first. And new mothering really did flip me upside down and flipped me inside out. And it took me a little while to right myself and find the things that I knew that I needed to support my mental health and my family. We love to camp. And also, we have a dog. I love my dog. Earlier this year, my family visited me in Seattle when I was undergoing cancer treatment. So everyone comes here with a story. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge all of you and all of the stories that you bring here and your own unique wisdom that you bring into your work with your patients and your clients. You all are actually playing a part in how I can stand up here and deliver this presentation to you. It's pretty amazing when you stop and think about these energetic feedback loops, right? I felt like you were with me in that little technology snafu back there. It actually made me feel like, okay, I can do this because you are here. So yeah, we're getting feedback already. You're getting feedback from the people that are sitting at your table. You're getting feedback from me. Because we're human, and that's what we do. That slide was so good. Okay, all right. Okay, so listening is not just for our ears. As we prepare for Heather and Chelsea to come forward this morning to share part of their lived experience, I want to invite a deep curiosity around our own listening. Listening is not just for our ears. Listening happens on a whole body level. You know this. It's often said that our first listening was to our own mother's heartbeat in the womb. I love that. We were born observing and listening, making sense of the world through feedback loops, the energy between us. And we know this energy on a very deep level. It's just that the noise from the modern world has made it hard for us to hear. Listening to new mothers is paramount. According to Helena Vissing, in her book Somatic Maternal Healing, Psychodynamic and Somatic Trauma Treatment for Perinatal Mental Health, she states, "We must offer the new mother an experience of being received on a bodily level, meaning that the wildness of her maternal transition is fully received and not defended against. In this way, we listen to her in her raw, embodied state with our body." She goes on to say, "Being in the presence of a maternal body presents us with a nervous system situation unlike most other interactions in life. It's activating to witness a mother and her new maternal body in all the states of intense emotionality and dysregulation that arise in her work of mothering." She says, "It is common to get activated by the presence of a mother and her baby. We are meant to be activated by this." So, some of you may be noticing what's happening in your own body as we're talking, and I'm using words like activation, dysregulation, vulnerability. Take a moment to notice that. In my study of somatic experiencing, which explores the body's wisdom for self-regulation and trauma healing, it's really important to start to explore the sensations of the body. Becoming a mother is a body experience. And as we listen to lived experience this morning, which inevitably, like Steph shared, will touch into some vulnerable and tender places in each one of us, I want to offer a somatic tool to bring you back, an anchor, when you notice that you need to check out, or you notice that it's too much. And the cool thing is, your body decides that it needs to move away or check out without even asking for your permission or giving you a choice. Checking out or dissociating is a very helpful and protective strategy. So first of all, if that's something that you notice about yourselves, it's okay. And in our roles, when we are with new parents, we have a responsibility to be present, but not perfect with our patients and our clients. It's important for our healing, for ourselves, for our clients, and for the collective field. It's very powerful. So, how do we come back when we've checked out? How do we come back into the present moment after we go away? So again, be gentle with yourself. You didn't choose to go away. Your body did that for you without giving you any choice. And up here you can see a picture of a huge anchor. Finding a resource is kind of like finding an anchor. Finding something that makes you feel more grounded, more present, safer. Okay. And I think it's really helpful for us to choose an anchor, choose a resource that we can keep coming back to throughout our time together and throughout these next 2 days, and possibly rippling into your work in your own community. So up here, I have some tea. Some of you have tea or coffee. Holding your cup of tea or coffee can be a resource for you. Taking a look out the window could be a resource. Noticing the seat that you're sitting on, noticing that it's holding you can be a resource. Feeling your feet on the ground can be a resource. I'm a mover and a shaker. So when I need to come back, I'm usually giving myself a little tap, a little squeeze. So I offer this to you as an opportunity to take care of yourselves here. So maybe just for a moment, notice if there's something popping up for you that could be a resource for our time together. Okay. So some of you may have an anchor. Some of you may be like, what? I don't know. It's okay. Maybe it's nothing. That also can be a resource. Okay. But remember that as we move forward, right? Okay. So now that we all have kind of like talked about finding an anchor, finding a tool to help us be present, right? Because being present is very important in our work, sitting across from and working alongside new parents. Okay. I want to dive a little bit into an exercise with the audience around listening to our own body. And you can see up here sensation language, body sensation language. How many of you in the audience are familiar with body sensation language? Will you raise your hand or... Awesome. Okay. So I really believe that the best way to be a compassionate, active, responsible listener is to have some awareness from the inside. And part of my work with somatic experiencing begins with developing an awareness of our own body sensations. So I try to do this in 2 different ways because that list it's a little confusing for my brain, but I like this person with all of these sensations all over. So you can take a peek up there to notice what's coming up for you right now. Right now, I feel some heat in the center part of my chest. Feel a little bit shaky in my legs still. It's nerve-wracking to be in front of all of your faces staring at me, right? So my body is getting cues from all of you, and I'm noticing it. So tracking our own body sensations is really important and really powerful to strengthen our relationships with ourselves and our patients and our clients. Okay. Sharing and listening is a dynamic body experience, and I want to go to a question to all of you. How do you know when someone is listening to you? You can shout it out. How do you know if you're sitting with someone and you can tell they're listening? Body language, yep. Anything else? Eye contact, yep. Yes, they're not on their phone, gosh. Yes. Yeah, so you're seeing some of these, right? They're not on their phone, they're looking at you. Their body language says, I'm open, I'm here, right? And how do we know on a body level when someone is listening? Can you feel that? Right? You can see it, but can you feel it? And I don't have to explain this to you. Like you said, you can sense when someone is listening to you, when they're connected to you, right? And you can sense when they're checked out completely. Like my partner this morning, when I was trying to get out the door, and he was looking at his phone, and I was trying to have a conversation, and I was like, I can't tell if you're listening or not because you're looking at your phone. Okay, mic drop. I'm done. But you can, so what I'm getting at is the mothers and the fathers who are in our presence, they can also recognize when we're listening and when we're checked out. And so it's important for us, because we're human, to be able to go back and forth, right? It's not our job to be perfect. It's our job to be present and open to the moving and the fluidity of our states. So, okay. So I'm wondering if we can do a little exercise, audience participation. Okay, so I would love for everybody in here to imagine a recent conversation that you've had where you knew the person was listening. So take a moment and kind of go through like a Rolodex of calls with your BFF or your partner, your sister, your aunt, or whoever. It doesn't have to be anything significant. Okay. So, do you have that in your mind, that conversation? So as you're imagining that conversation, I want you to notice what's happening in your body in this moment. What is the felt sense of being listened to? Anybody out there willing to share your felt sense? Can you tap into it here? Yes. Yes, a deep breath. Yeah. Anybody else? What did you notice? Yeah. In your stomach. Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah. Smile. You can feel your mouth move up, right? Yeah. Right. So we have a felt sense of what it is to be listened to, right? And I do believe that our own listening and our curiosity around deep listening has the power to pull forward these stories that need to be shared so that we can collectively move forward in healing, not just for our patients and our clients, for ourselves. So, I'm really excited and honored to be part of an experience with Heather and Chelsea. So I'd like to invite Heather and Chelsea to come to the stage. Okay. Do I need to turn this off? This is good? Okay. Hello? Is it on? Okay, great. This is so fun, so like interactive, from here to there to all kinds of things. I'm learning a lot. Oh, I don't like that I can't see you over there. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, so before we get started actually listening to these two lovely ladies, I just want to remind you, remember your anchor. Remember your resource. This is an opportunity for us to do a little dance with Heather and Chelsea. And as I shared with them, there's no right way to share a story. And so we will be doing a dynamic dance, right? Getting energy from the audience, feedback, okay? So let's get started. I'm gonna give, yes, thank you, that's great. Chelsea, you'll be here for moral support right now. How's that feel? Yeah, you're here. I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, we've got tissues.
Okay.
I'm sorry that you all don't have tissues. You have a tablecloth.
There you go.
Just kidding. So what I want to do with you all this morning is prompt a little sharing and model listening. And so I encourage you to notice what's coming up for you while Heather is sharing. Okay. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for doing this with me.
Of course.
I'm really excited.
Make sure this works.
And I want to make sure that I have a watch on the clock. Okay. Okay. Thanks for being here. And I just wanted to, oh.
I know. Cheers are very deep. Right, they're very deep. I know.
You know, like, what's that movie where the kids, like, you know?
Just gonna like, okay.
So notice right now what it's like for us to get settled. It takes a minute, right? So when we're working with our patients and our clients in our home or in our office, it's important that we give ourselves and them time to feel settled. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And I would love to just hear a little bit about what brought you here today, including any parts of your motherhood journey that feel relevant to share in front of this audience in this moment today.
Yeah, so my name is Heather. I just want to start off by saying that I am so appreciative of everybody who has put this event together and all of you for coming, because I think that amazing work is being done, and I'm just really thankful to be a part of it. So thank you for being here and putting it all together. gosh, where to start? I feel like it's so hard to decide, like, where does your story start and end, you know? When I got married, my husband and I moved away from family and decided, like, hey, we want to do this on our own. We want to figure out our own path. You know, we were very young and wanted to kind of have that independence. So we moved down to Utah for a few years, and then found out that we were pregnant with my amazing son. And while I was pregnant, we moved up to Montana. And I can also tell you, do not move while you are pregnant, because that was exhausting. But we moved up here to Montana, and while I was pregnant, that was also when COVID started. So, you know, I see a lot of like head nods, like, yes, I remember COVID, because it was not that long ago, and it's still wreaking havoc sometimes. So, yeah, it was a really challenging time for me because I was a first-time mother. It was the first time I had ever been pregnant. I had just moved to this new place, and COVID started, and everything shut down. You know, as you all know, like, there was nothing happening in person. There was so many unknowns, and that all, from my memory, I remember really starting to feel kind of that isolation, that scary, like, overwhelming feeling of the unknown, like end of March, beginning of April. So just to give you like a time reference, I had my son beginning of June. So very, very, very early on into COVID. At that time, we didn't know if my husband could even go into the delivery room with me. I was not allowed to have a doula. I was going to be leaning on lots of different you know, support while I was in labor. I was hoping to use nitrous oxide, which I was not allowed to do, and just so many different things. And I feel like my plan and what I had envisioned for myself changed drastically within just a few months. You know, I was obviously hoping that my parents could come and visit me in the hospital, and my husband's parents and siblings, and, you know, it was so exciting. We were having this baby, and all of that was just so quickly squashed. So it was really hard for me. And I feel like my birthing experience, although I am so grateful that I was healthy, my son was healthy, it was not how I pictured it. It was really long. It was really hard. And I don't feel like I received the support that I should have. All of the nurses, and I feel for them, I know that they were going through a really hard time during this, but all of the nurses had to, you know, completely de-gown and gown back up between each room, which means between each check there was longer amounts of time. If I needed anything, it took longer to get it. And I know that they were doing their best. If any of you are nurses, thank you so much for what you do, because you're amazing. So I know that they were doing their absolute best, but it was hard to feel like I didn't get what I needed out of that. So I had my son. Everything was still shut down. There was still nothing going on. I was still in this new state, this new place. I had no friends. Didn't know anybody except for my landlord, who was like an 80-year-old man, so not super helpful in this situation. And I felt so alone, just so alone. And I still look back to that time, and like you were explaining with how you feel it in your body, I can still feel that in my body, just that sense of isolation. And luckily, I met Laura Acker, who is actually being recognized this week in San Diego at a conference, because she's amazing and does amazing work, and I applaud her. She works with the Parents as Teachers program in Mineral County. And if you're not familiar with that program, it, for one, is amazing. And if it's not in your community, it should be. But they do home visiting to families, and they were able to start doing home visiting a little bit earlier based on the home visitors, you know, kind of how comfortable they were with everything. And so luckily, I met Laura, and really, I mean, I feel like you were saying, Suzanne, like, I felt so heard. I cried when I talked to her, like, every time. I had really bad postpartum anxiety. I really struggled after my son was born, and the isolation obviously didn't help. And when Laura was able to talk to me and hear me and hug me when I was crying, and, like ugly crying, not cute crying, like it was bad, I just felt so good. Like, I was like, okay. Like, she was my first friend in Montana. She was the first person who I could call anytime, and lean on anytime. She, I feel like, opened so many doors for me too. So when my son was just a couple years old, she got with her amazing group of women who work in our health department, because that's who our Parents as Teachers program is through in our county, and decided that I would be a good fit for a Circle of Parents group. Again, if you're not aware of Circle of Parents, another amazing organization. They have support groups all through Montana. And it's nationwide, but they have a lot of amazing groups through Montana. And I get to facilitate one of them. And it's been such a healing experience for me, and I'm so grateful that Laura was able to hear what I was saying and recognize the need in me that I needed a community. I needed people to talk to relate to, and to kind of feed into. Like, I'm a very social person, and that time of COVID when I was by myself, with it being so isolating, she was like, hey, you need this. You need a group that you can be in charge of and have fun with and enjoy. So I was able to become the facilitator of Mineral Moms Community. We live in Mineral County, so that's where the name came from. And I love it. It's been amazing. We meet once a month, and it's mothers from all over the county, because our county is really long. So we all get together and really talk about our experiences. And it is amazing to hear how many of us can have such different stories but relate on so many different things. And I have been so privileged to hear so many of their stories. And so fast forward, I got pregnant again. I had my daughter in October of 22. She just turned 2, which is crazy. And Laura was my doula. She was there for the birth of my daughter. I had the birthing experience that I wanted, and it was the most healing experience I have ever had. I was able to do everything that I wanted to do, and it was amazing. It really, like, I know everybody's like, is birth really that fun though? Like, is it really amazing? But this one was amazing. But yeah, I feel like through my journey, there's been a lot of like twists and turns and really low lows and really high highs. And so I just really commend you all for being here and wanting to build on the skills that you already have so that you can be that support. You can be that person who listens. And like Laura, and I've told her a million times, I don't even know to this day if she really truly knows the difference that she has made in my life. And I still talk to her all the time. She's still my home visitor. She still comes over every other week. Like, she's just fantastic. And I hope that you get to be that for somebody. And I hope that somebody gets to be that for you, because we all deserve that. And so, yeah, it was actually through all of the ladies at the health department who talked to me about this opportunity, and that's the whole reason why I'm here. That's what I mean. Like, they've opened so many doors for me. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for sharing. We chatted beforehand about how much time these ladies had. That was impeccable timing.
Was it? I was not sure.
Wow.
There's no clocks. Just
no. I mean, it's
like,
hard.
I don't know where I'm at.
I suggested like between 10 and 12 minutes of sharing. That was 10 minutes exactly. Wow. That's cool. So thank you so much. And now I kind of want to turn it to you all, and I can't talk to the people without seeing them, so sorry, we're going to stand. So in our respective roles, working with families, we are taught to detect patterns and themes, right, of what's coming from the lived experience that is shared in our presence. And actually, as we were talking about before, we were born doing that. So it's part of our like hardwired nature to detect those patterns and themes. So I can imagine that many of you in the audience were like, probably like ding, 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 right? The things are coming forward in Heather's story. And again, we're listening, but not just with our ears. We're listening with our bodies, because on a body level, we have the opportunity to do some of our own deep healing. We'll talk a little bit more later about mirror neurons and neural pathways, a little bit. But I wanted to take an opportunity right now for you all to turn to somebody who's sitting by you and share with them maybe something that you noticed while Heather was sharing. Something from a body level. Heather talked about COVID, moving here, finding her home visitor, finding her mom group. So as you're thinking about what Heather shared, I want you to turn to someone next to you and just tell them something. Notice what you're feeling in your body right now. Talk, talk, talk. Talk, talk, talk. Or just say hello and look at somebody. So, awesome. And when we do share, when we can say out loud what we're feeling, what we're noticing on a body level, we have the opportunity to deepen some of the neural pathways around our own healing. That is so amazing to me, kind of thinking about all of you out here in the collective field, and like the bigger collective energetic field around maternal perinatal mental health. We have the opportunity to turn the dial. So thank you again to Heather. And how are you feeling? You're ready. You're ready. Ready? Yes, you're feeling the warmth. Okay, let's feel it. We're with you. Okay. So just take a moment to kind of notice. Now it's your turn. Okay? And again, this is probably one of the most compassionate and tender audiences that you can be in front of. So, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Is this on? Okay.
Is it on?
I think so.
Okay, great. So, Chelsea, I'm glad that you're with us, and I would love for you to share what brought you here to being in this room today, in this moment, whatever feels relevant to share to these people who are here, a part of your mothering journey. Okay. So, thank you.
First of all, Amy Stiffarm brought me here, and she's
Where is
not
she?
here.
Amy.
So I will echo.
Do you want to wait for her?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I will echo what Heather said about appreciating everybody that's here. I'm a crier. I'm a fidgeter, so buckle up. This will be good. So first, I guess I want to introduce myself. My name's Chelsea, and live in Missoula. I've been there for 14 years. I am a very proud mother of 3 daughters who put me through the ringer, but all in the best ways. I'm a member of the Yankton Sioux tribe from South Dakota, but I was born and raised on the Colville Confederated Tribes Reservation in Washington State. And I kind of want to lead with that, and I want to explain a little bit of my childhood So growing up, I had 2 younger sisters, I had a father in the home, and I had my mother. And as I was going through the young school age, about 8, 9, some of my friends would come up to me and they would say, "Are you sure you're Native? Are you sure?" Because my mom, my sisters, and my father were all darker skinned. And I was like, wait, what? I look different? Like, really? I didn't really see that at that age. I didn't know that that was something that other people saw as well. And so, kids being kids were like, well, maybe you were adopted. Maybe your mom found you on the side of the road. Like maybe, all of these different scenarios. So I went to my mom one day, I was about 10 years old, and I said, you can tell me the truth. I won't be mad. Am I adopted? Like, did you find me in a dumpster? Like, what is going on here? And at 10 years old, you just want to find out the answer. And she calmly explained to me that, no, I was not adopted or found in a dumpster, that she had birthed me, but my father was not my biological father. And that kind of was the first moment where I said, well, who the heck am I? Who am I? Where's my identity? Like, I know who I am in this family, or I thought I knew who I was in this family. So, of course, at 10 years old, you kind of start going through, the starts of the teenage years and feeling this sense of identity crisis. But as I went through high school, middle school, I also took note of the way that my skin color made me more welcomed in certain spaces. I had a privilege that my sisters, my mother, my dad did not have. And that was very blaring at such a young age during teenage years. And so naturally, got a little fun depression going on at teenage years, like a lot of teenagers do. But when I left the reservation, when I graduated high school, we were taught back then the narrative of you get off of this reservation, you go do something with your life, save yourself kind of ordeal. Now that narrative has changed. Come back and help your people. But back then that wasn't the case. And so I found myself just running as far as I could away, that I couldn't go home every day or every weekend, but also close enough to go home. I found myself in Missoula, and I went to U of M. And U of M was another area where I had this privilege. Academia, Western institution, my skin is lighter. I felt like I had these opportunities that I shouldn't be having because of the color of my skin. And then it enraged me to see my friends that had darker skin to meet the barriers that they met. So I started working for the university, and working for academia, love it, but it's a struggle because there is this westernized concept, there's these power dynamics, and I'll blatantly say it, there is institutional racism. It happens. As much as we want to try and change that, it happens. So in the midst of trying to figure out who I was in this Western system and having the privilege of fitting in a little bit easier than others, I then found myself pregnant. And, it was a surprise. We call my oldest daughter the best uh-oh ever because I was not expecting her. But that brought me to a space of absolute identity crisis because I was still trying to figure out who I was in this one area of my life. And now I had to stop my crazy party and take care of another human being growing in my body, right? And entering motherhood as a single mother was a journey. But that's what brings me to my postpartum era is what I call it, where with her, it was a rough pregnancy, it was a really rough delivery, but after I had her, I was on this high. I had all the energy in the world. I was traveling with a newborn everywhere. Like, you could not pin me down. I was, just everywhere. My thoughts were everywhere. I was excited about life. That depression I experienced before, gone. And I really just found this sense of this is who I am as a mom. I'm this happy mom and I'm doing great. And I love my baby, she loves me. And about 7 months into postpartum with her, I woke up one day and it was like somebody turned a light off and things just changed. And it was darker and it was heavier and then there was more questions and there was more doubts in my ability to parent. And it was just this wave over the course of a couple years. Really good months, really good moments, deep depression, questions, just doubtfulness. So as I met my husband and we decided to have more kids, I was in a good place when we made that decision, mentally. I had worked through things because I had gone to my doctor and I got on an antidepressant, and that seemed to level things out. So with my second child postpartum, my second daughter, it was blaring postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression. I called, said I need to see someone immediately, I need medication. It was very scary. I was given that medication, things were muted, things were calm. I could kind of go back to life, right? Then I found myself feeling better again, right? Things leveled out, everything felt normal. So with my doctor's help, I got off of the medication and did life for a couple more years, felt really good. And then we had another cool uh-oh with our third daughter, similar to Heather, a COVID baby. And so she was born in June, in the height of COVID. And because I had learned my lessons about advocating for myself for that second time, there was my little antidepressant on my table the second that baby came out. I was ready. And I was so proud of myself. I was so excited that I was, advocating for myself. And my postpartum went really, really well. And I was like, this is the best pregnancy I've had. This is the perfect way to end my birthing and creating of babies. And I was so happy about it. So about 2 years after that, 2022, I found myself just in the depths of it. And I thought to myself, this can't be postpartum, it's 2 years. This is the longest time between a birth and these symptoms. And I really struggled. It got really dark, really fast. It got really to the point of, my husband being worried, because he had seen me kind of navigate it the whole time. And there was a couple of weeks where I just didn't get out of bed, and I didn't take care of my kids. He was taking time off work. He was having people drop in, and I didn't even care about the state of my house when people were dropping in. I mean, who does that? I was struggling. So essentially what took place was I was asked really hard questions by my husband, and he, based on the answers of those questions, grabbed my hand and grabbed my purse, and we went to the hospital. And in that hospital, they evaluated that I needed to go into a psychiatric unit, and I needed to stay, and I needed to address whatever was happening with the chemicals in my brain, is how they phrased it. And I did it without any kicking or screaming. I went, and the first night I was there changed my entire life. I was sleeping. I got there really late at night. And it's just during COVID, so my husband couldn't come with me. There was limits on everything, it felt like. And a Native man walked into my room, knocked with a nurse, and he handed me, as I'm sleeping, braided sweetgrass. And he prayed over me. And then he left. We didn't have a conversation. And the next morning, I took my braided sweetgrass with me to all of my group meetings, to all my evaluations, and I asked them, why did he bring this to me? You know, how do you know that I'm native? Like, I don't look native. And the nurse goes, it's in your file. And I was like, oh, that's sacred, like, okay. So, but
you have like 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm wrapping up, so I'm on it. The turning point for me in this 6-day stay was every single clinician, every single group leader, even the music gal who did music therapy, like every single person took the time to ask me a reflective question in relation to the topic we were discussing. And the question was, how can you use your culture to support these needs? How can your culture support your mental health? And I'd never really been asked that. That was never a focus in the Western system of medicine and getting help. So being seen as a Native mother in that space in a westernized medical institute was completely life-changing. And that was when it clicked for me of, this is what I need, this is how I'm going to heal, this is how I'm going to help other moms, whether you're Asian, Black, Native, like this is how I'm going to help them. So to kind of finalize everything, all of these ups and downs that I experienced after my 6-day stay, after getting an evaluation, I was diagnosed with bipolar 2. And it was like this moment of clarity, but because I had that cultural, validation, it felt so much more attainable to heal myself, to learn about what my body needed and what my mind needed. And so I say this because I know some of you out there have Native patients. I know some of you maybe are just starting that process. But if you could really just look at it from cultural strengths alongside the Western help, you're going to save lives.
Thank you for sharing and trusting us with that. These two ladies told me they don't do a lot of public speaking. It seems the opposite. And if you haven't up to this point, you will be now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I want to turn back to the audience just for a second. And I don't know what happened with that. Technology. So again, I want to run through that little exercise. Right? A lot of us, we're trained to listen right here, right? I could see your little flags going up as she was talking. You were giving that body language. And you know what? The body language was saying, we're here. We can hold that. Keep sharing. So thank you, and thank you. So I want to invite you all to turn to the people at your table or whoever you're sitting next to and take a moment and share what you're noticing in your body as we're integrating Chelsea's story. Go. Okay, so Heather, how are you feeling in your body right now in this moment after having shared and being witnessed by the audience out here who was giving a lot of nonverbal cues in their listening? How are you feeling in your body?
Yeah, honestly, really good. Like really just feeling at peace. I feel like my muscles are more relaxed. Like my head is a little bit more clear. Like you were explaining earlier how your legs were shaking. I feel like that has kind of gone away. Mm-hmm. Like just very comfortable because you guys have made it really easy.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me pass to Chelsea. Chelsea, how about you? How are you feeling in your body? What are you noticing?
Yeah, can I speak to like how I felt before?
Absolutely.
And after?
Please.
Okay. So I am one of those people that I have to like sit and be grounded and like not move. Like that's my nerves. So before, if you saw me, I probably didn't even get up to hug you. I was like, hi, yeah, hi. And it's just like, it's like cement feet. It's just, you know, there's some warmth going in and out. But now I've got the jitters and I'm ready to go. And I'm like pumped up. And so my body, like I'm feeling kind of, again, this sensation through my chest of warming up. But my legs, like, they weren't shaking when I was talking or before, but they're shaking now.
Yes.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. And for sharing kind of the shift that happened for both of you in that. And so for all of us out here, kind of noticing that shift, Chelsea just shared, and these weren't your words, so I'm sorry, I'm sort of interpreting a little bit, but you were sort of stuck to your chair, and now you're like mobilized, you're alive, ready to go. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being up here. Let's give these ladies a round of applause. Again, an honor. Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to move into another, I'm going to keep talking and move into another portion of our time together. And again, remember, take care of yourselves here. I don't take offense to people moving. I have kids. They never listen to me anyway, so I'm used to people just moving about. So, okay, no. Okay, here we go. Okay, I gotta check my time. What do we got? 11:25. Oh, we got this. All right. So now that we've kind of dusted off some cobwebs around our own listening, kind of getting curious about our own bodies and what it means to be listening, I want to dive a little deeper into the power of this dance that you all were just participating in with Heather and Chelsea, and the broader implications of sitting across from somebody and truly listening to their story, right? Oh, and again, I was noticing, all of your little flags dinging, kind of like noticing all the patterns in the story. So it's really interesting. But yeah, I really want to get into the way we use the feedback of this experience to turn the dial on perinatal mental health, advocacy, awareness, prevention, and collective healing. Also, I should have said this before, but I just want to acknowledge that I have a tremendous amount of privilege standing up here and sharing stories so openly and honestly, because not everybody has a space or a stage or a relationship that feels safe to do so. So, which feels like our responsibility and obligation to be listeners is enormous. So, we have a responsibility anytime we're in the presence of a new parent. And I think in my own work and in like just working in this field, mothers and fathers are crying out to be heard. And so I really, that comes with an enormous like obligation and responsibility that's very powerful. So again, I just want to thank everybody for being here again. And I want to get into like, why do we share stories? Okay, now it's working. Okay, great. And I love this quote from Amanda Gorman. She's the National Poet Laureate. And we tell stories because we're human. And I just invite you all to look around the room and just notice that everyone here has a story. Everyone here has a story worth sharing and a story worth being listened to. And again, not all stories have a stage, right? This is from our Moms Like Me event a couple years ago in Bozeman, so who courageously got up and shared their stories of mothering. But yeah, we tell stories because we're human, and everyone has a story to share. Again, these are 3 other mothers who willingly signed up to share their motherhood stories on the stage in Bozeman in 23. So, and story plays a role in our survival. Forever we've been sharing stories about where to find food, where to find shelter, where to find water. These are the things that keep us alive. And I'd argue in early parenthood, sharing stories is essential for our survival. So kind of looking at these images, can you imagine the stories in there without even having to hear about them? Stories are not static. And you know this because we just watched it unfold in front of us. Stories are fluid. They actually form in the process of telling. It's kind of neat. So storytelling affects the listener and the person telling, right? And so you can kind of imagine like sharing a story with a coworker or sharing a story with a best friend about the exact same experience. Will it be a different story that you tell about the same experience? Probably, right? The people who are listening to you, who you can have a felt sense of their listening, you may be willing to be more open, right? One thing that I think is really cool is the discovery around mirror neurons. And I'm not a neuroscientist, but I think the brain is fascinating. Yeah, I don't have that in my letters. I'm just fascinated by the way we connect as a species and what we're learning about the brain and our ability to sit with one another and have mirror neurons firing, allowing us to experience the same emotion as the person sitting across. Right? Those neurons are firing in our own brain. When someone is telling us about a story that's painful or difficult, the parts in our brain that are lighting up are the parts where we feel that pain, difficult. It's awesome. And we create that. It's so neat. So we're hardwired to feel each other's happiness, each other's pain, more deeply than we ever knew. And I really think this relates to our ability to build empathy. Deep listening builds empathy. One of the most important pieces, in my opinion, working in this field, creating that sacred container and space for empathy, right? Where shame can't survive. And listening from a body level can offer us the opportunity to deepen those neural pathways towards our own healing. I guarantee that some of us here in the room are here and in this work because of our own story entering into parenthood. And sitting across from your patients or your clients is actually and also an opportunity for your own healing. It's pretty cool. We tell stories to connect, to make meaning, and to belong, right? One of the deepest human desires is to belong. Belonging to a group is essential for our survival, right? When we feel like we're on the outside, we're alone, we're isolated. we are an interdependent species. We are not meant to do life without community. So we need to be part of that. And telling stories and sharing lived experiences helps us to connect, to relate, and to find meaning for ourselves. To connect with someone else is to know someone else. And I was reading somewhere, and it said, knowing me is like accepting me. And that feels like survival. So I run some new mom groups at Roots, and mothers come because they want to connect. They want to know they're doing it right. They want to know that they're not alone. They want to know that they belong to this group, even when and especially when it's hard. Okay. Water. Okay, so sharing lived experience is significant. I feel like I really don't need to do this presentation. You know this stuff. But sharing lived experience is significant on a personal level for both the listener and the storyteller. As my mom would say, Suzanne, it feels like you're beating a dead horse. It's horrible. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just hammering it in. But it's a dynamic process. So it's important on a personal level, right? Kind of like when someone is sitting in your presence, they're sharing a story, they're shining like a little flashlight in your face saying, hey, look at me, listen, right? And in our respective roles, we take all those little lights to our community level. It's important and significant on a community level because putting all those little lights together can help shine a bigger light on local programs and prevention and other things that are important for taking care of mothers and families. So like opening that like aperture a little bit wider on that light. And then as communities across the state of Montana, and thanks to HMHB, we can put all those lights together and work on a bigger scale, right? Creating change on a bigger level. So I think that's really important. So I was driving just a couple of days ago in Bozeman, and so I've been working on this presentation for a couple of weeks, and this sign was in my regular route. Is anybody from Bozeman? Have you seen this? Yeah, okay. I was like, what? Oh my God, yes, listen more. It's a sign. It's a sign. And I'm really into signs. For those of you who know me, know about some of those. So why is it so important that we develop and refine our skills of listening as professionals working in this field? Right? Part of our job is to, detect the themes and the patterns that are coming from our clients and our patients, so we can match them better with resources like your home visitor did. And I just want to say, sometimes it feels like me too, our desire to help can get in the way of our true listening. So I'm just putting that out there. I really do believe that we all have been brought to this work for a really important reason, helping to change the world, one mother, one family at a time. And the deep listening we do in our everyday roles across all the disciplines that are here and represented has the power to create a bigger and collective healing. Our role in listening to these stories that are so desperately wanting to be heard is instrumental in our own healing as well. And that's a pretty beautiful thing to imagine, that healing begins with us. So, thank you so much for listening. You rock.